Good evening, everyone. My name is Youssef, and I'm a final year civil engineering student at the University of Queensland. I am originally from Aleppo, Syria, and I arrived in Australia in 2017 with my family, my parents, and my 3 sisters. Every time I meet new people, I must get asked that question, where are you from? And once I say that I'm from Syria, I know what they are going to say. They will say something like, oh, Syria, it's very dangerous there, isn't it? Aren't there lots of bombs, missiles, and terrorists? I feel sad when I find people think about Syria in that way, because Syria is the place where I was born and grew up, and also the place where I have lots of good childhood memories, such as traveling with friends, celebrating Christmas, Easter, and New Year with relatives and family, and many more priceless memories. My journey of relocating to Australia is quite long. During this journey, the only thing we were looking for is to be safe. It started in 2015 when my family and I moved from our city, Aleppo, to Tartus, which was a safer city in Syria. In 2016, and after my twin sister and I finished our high school, my parents decided to move to Lebanon, hoping to find a better future for our family. Our time in Lebanon was very hard, as Lebanon was not in a better situation than Syria, and it was very difficult for us to start university or even find a job. So we decided to apply for a humanitarian visa to come to Australia, and we were fortunate when our application got approved. And Australia became the place where we will have a better future as a family. Before arriving to Australia, we heard a lot about Australia is the lucky country. However, when we arrived in Brisbane in 2017, we found that we need to work really hard to get the future we are looking for. My first language is Arabic. My second language is French, but when I arrived here, I had 0 English. I had to learn English from the beginning, but I did that so I could study and become a civil engineer, which has been always my dream since I was a child. My dream of becoming a civil engineer was because I always wanted to see how all those buildings were built and build similar structures and show them to my family and say, I built this. In 2018, I did a course at TAFE, which was a high school equivalent to allow me to get into university. And the next year, I started Bachelor of Engineering, majoring in civil engineering at the University of Queensland. My first year at university was the most difficult year in my entire degree. It was just full of stress. Everything was new to me. Even people there were new to me because I didn't have any friends when I first started. However, over time, things got easier. During my last 3 years at university, I was fortunate to receive a number of scholarships for academic excellence. One of those scholarships was the Roger Trundle Memorial Scholarship, which is awarded to only one student from second and third year civil engineering major every 2 years. And most importantly, after 3 years, I have lots of friends at uni, not like when I first started. In 2020, I started working as an academic tutor at University of Queensland, which I'm still working till now. While working as a tutor, I started to become more confident in my abilities and realized that I should never underestimate what I can do. In summer 2020, CareerSeekers gave me the greatest opportunity to start my first internship in civil engineering at John Holland in the Gold Coast Seaway project. It was my first experience ever in the industry, and I met lots of good people who I'm still in contact with, even though we're not working together anymore. In summer 2021, I interned again at John Holland in the Queensland Regional Water Treatment Plants Upgrades project, where I learned a lot from very experienced people. I would like to thank everyone from Career Seekers for doing an incredible job to let the world know what refugees can do. Without your help, I and all other people here would not be able to reach our dreams. I would also like to thank John Holland for giving me the opportunity to work with them and believing in what I have to give to the company and to Australia. Unfortunately, many people think about refugees in a bad way or negative way. In fact, refugees are just ordinary people, just like anyone in this world. They were unlucky that wars happened in their country and they became refugees. I am grateful for everything happened to me. I became a stronger person who always loves to be challenged and never gives up. So, as refugees, we only need a chance to prove that we have the skills and we have the ability to adapt to new environments, and just like any other person, we can succeed. Finally, we all need to work together to build a better future for ourselves and the coming generations. And I'm very proud to call Australia home, and thanks, Australia.
Hi everyone, my name's Rory Waddell and I'm the General Manager for GHD in the Sydney region. As John mentioned earlier, he has asked me today to get up and talk a little bit about what it means or our experience as an employer with Career Seekers. And I do stand here in full acknowledgement of the fact that I am certainly not going to be the highlight of your evening. But it is really nice for John to ask us to do this, and I'm really happy and have really enjoyed the association we've had with Career Seekers for a while now. So for those of you that don't know, GHD is a professional services firm who does a lot of work in engineering, environment, architecture, and therefore it's a great fit in terms of a lot of the people who come through the Career Seekers program. And when I first heard about it and when we first got involved in it, I could really see the potential and the opportunity that was there for us, because we already have a lot of people working in our organisation who come from the same countries and the same parts of the world as what a lot of refugees do. And there are some fabulous engineers that come from these parts of the world and some fabulous scientific people. So it's a program that has worked really, really well for us. But when we first started with Career Seekers, when our first interns came through, we weren't really that good at it at that point in time, and it has taken us a little while over time, and as the organisation has grown and matured as well too, we have a much better program and a much better way of actually integrating people into our business. Since 2016, we've had 53 Career Seeker interns come through our organisation, and they have worked across nearly all of our teams within our business, including our IT team. Half of the IT team in Sydney actually has come through the Career Seekers program. But a lot of other parts of our business as well too. And it's been a huge success for us as an organisation. One of my favourite stories about our time with Career Seekers was at this event, I think it was last year, when one of our new graduates came up to me and said, "Hi." And I said, "Oh, didn't know you'd come through Career Seekers." And her response was, "What? I don't look like a refugee." And I said, "Well, no, you look like an engineer." And so it does just show that the people who we're bringing into our businesses and into these programs are exactly the same as all of the people who we've already got within our organisations. The two things I really wanted to talk about quickly were what's worked for us as an employer. And there's a couple of things that I think really have made a difference as we've gone through this journey. One is a central point of contact within our business who is based in our Victorian office, who does a great job of giving people a bit of an intro as to what to expect when they have a Career Seeker intern come into the business and help them. One of the other things has been the fact that, as I mentioned before, we do have a lot of people within our business who do come from the same parts of the world as what a lot of our refugees do. So if we have a Syrian intern come in, then we find a Syrian from within our business and pair them up to help them come in to the organisation and learn a little bit about the organisation. We introduce people from our business to Career Seekers through events like this so that they can understand a bit about the program and hopefully then become advocates for the program within our own business. We've also had a lot of our people involved with some of the events and programs that Career Seekers run, like the preparation for work, the interview prep, that sort of thing, which also has given people a greater appreciation for the program. But I think the other thing I really wanted to talk about was the benefits that we've got out of it as well. Australia is an immigrant nation. My father immigrated here from Ireland, and I'm sure a lot of us could say the same thing about either being immigrants to this country ourselves or having parents or friends or relatives who emigrated. And what better can we do to actually increase the productivity of our nation and help refugees who have come here than giving them employment and a viable career into the future? Not all the people who have interned at GHD have stayed on as permanent employees, and not all the people who we've offered permanent roles to have necessarily are still with us. But that's okay. If we have given these people an opportunity, we've given them a chance to actually grow some experience and grow a career within Australia, then that's something that personally makes me feel pretty good. But it also is something that makes our people within our organisation feel really good. So whilst Australia as a nation may not always be the most welcoming to refugees, certainly the employees within our organisation love the fact that we are involved in this program. They love the fact that we are giving opportunities to people who have come to this country looking for it. And that is one of the main pieces of feedback that I get from our people about the program. So look, thank you from me and from the other employers to all of the interns who are here trying to work and trying to get a role with our organisations. Please keep coming and please come and enrich our workplaces as so many of you have done already. And thank you very much to Career Seekers and all the employment partners here as well too, because together I think we can really make a difference. Thanks a lot.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Lena. I'm originally from Afghanistan. Tonight, I want to share my story, how I recently arrived to Australia, and how much it has meant to me to start my career here. I was born in a war-torn country, in a religiously conservative community, where women were taught to be inferior to men. However, I was lucky enough to grow up in an educated and open-minded family. Among our relatives, my father was the one who not only allowed but supported the education of his daughters, wife, and daughter-in-law. When Taliban took over the country for the first time, my parents decided to migrate to Pakistan. They managed to provide enough support for us to survive, go to school, and study. We returned to Afghanistan in 2002 after Taliban regime fell. Our family managed to resettle back in Kabul, continue education, find jobs, and have a relatively stable life. I was able to finish my secondary school and get admission into university. After earning my bachelor degree in science from Kabul University in late 2009, I started my career with my first job as an academic member at the Ministry of Education in the Curriculum Development Department. I got married and started a new independent life with my husband in 2010. After a year of marriage, I got the opportunity to participate in the highly competitive Australian Development Scholarship Program to get my master's degree in education field. This was an opportunity that could change my life and career significantly. I studied hard to win that unfair battle. Men were more encouraged to go abroad for further studies by their families. After working hard in winning a place for this scholarship, it was upsetting to see my husband's family circumstances changing, which means he wouldn't be accompanying me, and I have to take a decision. Thus, taking the decision to further my higher education became a huge challenge for me, one that contradicted our community and religion principle, for which women were not allowed to travel alone. Despite this dilemma, with support of my husband, I decided to choose the path that was right for my future. I traveled alone to Australia in 2012 and began my studies. I was determined to fight for women's rights in the country and prove that they can live independently and fulfill their ambitions. It seems that challenges never end in my life, as after only a month in Australia, I realized that I was pregnant. A blessing to think of our first child, but I could foresee the challenges that would lie ahead carrying on alone in Australia, particularly in the later stages of the pregnancy. I knew the value of the opportunity and so worked hard to maximize this chance. I could manage to keep up with the study until the birth of my daughter in December 2012. I named her Victoria after the state where she was born. My life changed dramatically after her birth. It was nearly impossible to continue my studies on a student visa, alone not able to afford childcare expenses. I had no choice but to take the hard decision to defer my studies and go back to Afghanistan. The plan being the suspension would be for only 1 year. Upon my return to Afghanistan, judgmental community started to show discrimination against my daughter, me, and my whole overall journey to Australia. It was a challenging period, particularly when the scholarship program was canceled, and consequently, my scholarship terminated before I had the chance to return and complete my studies. However, I never gave up. This is what my parents taught me, and I once again studied hard and applied for another scholarship program at the American University of Afghanistan, funded by USAID. This scholarship enabled me to complete my master's degree in business administration successfully in 2017, enabling me to change my career away from education to business. After graduation, I got the opportunity to join Nestlé as a sales operation executive. This kind of employment with a multinational company paved the way for my husband to further his own education at the same university and achieve the same degree. I was so proud watching his success and to support my family financially. Following his graduation, he secured an exciting new role, which meant that in 2018, I got the chance to leave Nestlé and pursue a career that I was more passionate about. A career where, once again, I could serve my community. I entered the humanitarian field and started working as a support service associate at the United Nations Office for Project Services, UNOPS. It was a lucky year as we welcomed our second child, a cute and chubby son named Amir Salam. Finally, both my husband and I were fulfilling our career ambitions. We became role model as a successful couple among the young community. With all the setbacks we had, we made it to inspire our community with our hard work and commitment to education. It was a happy time for our family, although sadly short-lived. In August 2021, the Taliban intensified their military activities in the countryside. Only in 1 week, they managed to capture major cities in the country and were heading toward the capital city of Afghanistan. Although the government assured the Taliban will not invade Kabul, but on 15 August, they took over Kabul without a single act of resistance. The news was so shocking and frightening that no one could believe it. However, that was the new reality of Afghanistan, to be handed over to the Taliban, notorious for their radical and dogmatic interpretation of the Islamic context. After our country had experienced 20 years of progress in human rights and democracy, it was a trauma for everyone, as no one wanted to go backward. The Afghan-Australian Alumni Association members, including me, who had previously studied in Australia, applied for a humanitarian visa. Fortunately, the members of the group got visas within a week, while there was one last military evacuation flight available to Australia. Unfortunately, due to the airport chaos, none of us were able to reach that flight and we were left behind. The visa was valid for 3 months, and during this period, we were supposed to leave the country, which was the only hope, like a light at the end of the tunnel, that kept us motivated to survive. After 2 months of living in shadow and fear, we contacted the Australian Embassy in Pakistan for support, and they advised that they will support our evacuation only if we are able to reach Pakistan legally. We already had the required travel documents, including a visa to Pakistan, but the only problem was that there were no flights available. In mid-November, our window to leave the country was closing, as our visa was about to expire. We had only one option: to take the risk and go overland to Pakistan, through the Torkham border, where pretty much the same chaos was going on as what had happened at the airport during the initial evacuation. Crossing this land border was a hell on earth for families with children. People would wait in the queue for 2 days and 2 nights in an open and freezing area in order to cross the border. Something that made us determined to survive during this risky journey was the future of our Victoria. I'm not going to describe those 2 nights that we spent at the border, probably the worst experience of our life that we will never forget. Finally, we managed to cross the border on the morning of the 3rd day, where a representative of the Australian Embassy in Pakistan was waiting for us. Afterward, the Australian Embassy arranged our evacuation to Australia within 2 weeks. Words cannot express our appreciation and gratitude for the support we received from the Australian Embassy and Australian government during this process. A new era of our lives started after resettling in Australia with the humanitarian support of the Australian government. A multicultural country full of diversity, hope, and peace, where our daughter would have access to her basic rights. We feel immensely thankful, since the most important part of our life, the future of our children, is in good hands. Although we were safe and full of hope, our family was dealt a tragic blow only 2 weeks after arriving. Life dragged me to the lowest point when I got the news of the sudden death of my brother. I cried miserably for days, full of regret for leaving him and my father behind. Then I realized that moving forward is not a choice or option, but it is my responsibility to move on, as millions of women of my country do not have the chance to do so. I started the healing process by focusing on building our future and began exploring how to start my career. It might seem easy at first glance with the huge number of vacancies currently available. But as you begin to navigate the job market, you realize that yet another new challenge has just begun to struggle with. Lack of local experience, networks, and references made it impossible for me to restart my career in Australia. I kept searching to find out how to get a chance to enter the market. Then I heard about the CareerSeekers program through a friend. Shortly after registering with the CareerSeekers, one of the career advisors called, which was just like a hand from heaven that was extended to hold me and push me forward. They not only provided an internship opportunity, but a huge support throughout the recruitment process, providing the training and advice to achieve it successfully. The internship opportunity is with the Victorian Department of Families, Fairness and Housing. It is not only an opportunity to start my career, but also a hope, a healing, strength, and the reborn of a woman who has been going through the hardest times of her life. After my work with UNOPS in Afghanistan, I am excited to once again work for an organization providing support to the community. The department's focus on providing equal opportunities for all Victorians to live a safe, respected, and valued life, no matter of their background, is a purpose I deeply believe in. I would like to extend my appreciation to the department for offering this internship, through which I can share my experience, capabilities, and abilities and explore future career options in the Victorian public sector. I hope to pay off Australia for their support by becoming an active member of the community and raising my children in the best way possible, so in the future they can also play a constructive part in the community and contribute to the economy. I'm excited for the future of my career and my family. There are many humanitarian entrants like me, with limited resources available, but skills and experience to offer, along with a determination to repay Australia for the safe haven that we have been provided. These individuals are desperately in search of internship opportunities and the support of empowering organizations like CareerSeekers. It is these kinds of opportunities that will lead them to life-changing improvements and enable them to start a new life, career, and raise children who will be the next generation to serve this country and all of the humanity. I sincerely appreciate your attention tonight. Thank you very much.
I was woken up by my aunt, her eyes filled with tears and her voice shaking. On a weekday, I would usually wake up at my own pace, iron my uniform, pack my bag, and head on my way to school. But little did I know that there would be no school today. I was told to pack what clothing I could find into plastic bags. And quickly, even as a 12-year-old, I knew we would not be coming back. The front door was already open, ready for our departure. My neighbor opened her door early in the morning to collect her bread, as she did every day. She looked at me with sadness in her eyes as she saw what was happening. Take care was the last thing I ever heard from her. We said our final goodbyes to loved ones and set on our way. I remember the day clearly. The sun was rising, yet it was my coldest, darkest day, and one that changed the course of my whole life. Good evening, everyone. My name is Muna Jaber. A decade has passed since that horrible day. Today, I reside in Brisbane, where I'm a final year law student at the Queensland University of Technology. Through CareerSeekers, I was able to intern with Norton Rose Fulbright, a global law firm. I later completed a clerkship with them, and I'm hopeful that I might join their grad program next year. Like two speakers before me, Yusuf and Lena, I'm here tonight to share a few words about my experiences as a refugee. I personally lived a good life in Syria. I was born and spent my childhood in a small city named Suwaida, about 50 kilometers from the Syria-Jordan border. Suwaida has a rich history. It's been inhabited since Roman times. Visitors will find preserved artifacts, ancient reservoirs, a large Roman theater, towers, and old Roman houses that are still inhabited by locals. Living in Suwaida gave me a deep appreciation of history and nature, and I miss it dearly. I spent until age 8 in Suwaida when work took my family to Damascus, the Syrian capital. My mom pursued her career as a screenwriter, and my dad as a teacher. Our life was simple, yet fulfilling, for at least a short while. I attended a beautiful school that was once a church in Damascus. The diversity in my city was fulfilling. And as the church rang its bells, and as the mosque started its prayers, my soul never felt more at peace. No different to a child in Australia, I had many aspirations growing up. My biggest dream was to become an actress, a decision which was influenced by my mother's work. I wanted to be famous, I loved being in front of the camera, and I liked the attention. My dream even became a reality for a short period when I appeared in 2 local TV shows. However, my dream died once my family and I were placed in danger of political prosecution. You see, freedom of speech was an issue. After our escape, we sought refuge in Jordan, where we lived for 3.5 years. Whilst it offered safety, it was only a temporary solution. As in Jordan, refugees are unable to work or study. Ultimately, we found a permanent place to settle in Australia. However, making a home in Australia was not easy. I was lucky. I told myself time after time, I'm here and it matters. But the truth is, it was hard. This is something only a refugee can appreciate. When you arrive to a new country, you're grateful for safety, but your challenges do not suddenly disappear. I've suffered from homesickness for a homeland that no longer feels like home. I've battled to find the right words to illustrate the constant loss of self that I've experienced in the past 10 very difficult years. I've struggled for most of my short life trying to find hard ground to stand on. And when I tried to yell for help, as the ground was crumbling beneath my feet, my lungs failed me, or I was lost in translation. But I persisted. And I'm happy to share that at the end of this year, I'll graduate from my law degree. Getting to this point in my life has been super challenging. Going to university was one of the biggest challenges that I undertook. I remember my first year where attending lectures felt like a nightmare. I did not understand what was going on for most part. I couldn't keep up with the lecturers. I was super slow typing on my laptop. And if I'm honest, I didn't understand 80% of the content at the time. Yet, here I am. I can reassure you, no matter how impossible it may seem, you can do it. Yes, there will be days where leaving your bed in the morning seems like mission impossible, but you will manage. And just like hard days are inevitable, so are good days. Be kind to yourself, for at the end of the day, we're only human. I would like to leave you with this closing thought. To all those in the audience who are not of a refugee background, refugees are not a burden. We're capable human beings with so much to offer. We just need opportunity and a little understanding. This is no more than what you would need if you were thrust from your home suddenly. To all my refugee friends here and to all refugees worldwide, keep going, keep fighting, aim high, and keep your head up high. Today is a new day. Thank you.